Hello everyone, and thank you for joining me for this new edition of Business Africa. On our show today, we report about an essential resource, which is water, and we take stock of internet outages with Pierre Dandjinou. He's one of the African representatives to ICANN, the organization which supervises the maintenance of internet. But first, let's get on with the show with our top stories today. Ugandan coffee growers want to join the top 3 global exporters, and they're giving themselves the means.
As of now, our exports have really grown high. Like of last year, we were able to export about more than 6 million bags of 60 kilograms.
Water dispensers for everyone, even for the lowest incomes. This is the solution promoted by this entrepreneur from Rwanda. The river is the cause of the death of many people who come to collect this dirty water. This water also causes us many health problems. If we had cleaner water, we wouldn't come here. They are very young children and are already helping their parents in artisanal gold mines in Guinea, a situation going unchecked in whole swathes of the African extractive sector.
We've noticed that in mining areas, parents neglect their children's education. They take the children with them to the mines to exploit them somehow.
Uganda experiences a boom in coffee exports. The leading African exporter of these precious grains that are appreciated throughout the world is benefiting from the consequences of a dire economic situation for its Asian competition. Heavy rainfalls in Indonesia and high production costs in Vietnam are among the negative factors boosting demand for Ugandan coffee. The sector supports around 5 million people and wants its producers to join the top 3 global exporters. Our journalist Alexandra Pierre went to Kisoro in the southwest of the country to follow the government's policy regarding farmers. The objective: improve the quality and yields of these Arabica producers. Take a look.
At Kisoro Volcanic Organic Coffee, coffee is a family business. For 28 years, the family farm has been producing Arabica coffee, a variety that only grows above an altitude of 1,300 meters. A pioneer in his early days, Peter Halira is now an influential community member, advising other farmers on the best methods for producing good coffee. His family also organizes guided tours for tourists to show how coffee is made from the tree to the cup.
So these are green beans on the trees, but when you harvest, you make sure you pick selective picking method, picking only the ripe beans.
Once the fruit is harvested manually, the pulp is separated from the kernels using a pulping machine. The beans are then washed and left to dry for 2 weeks. The farmers then pluck and sieve the beans before hand roasting them too. All that's left to do is grind the coffee and enjoy it. From the start, the family was supported by UCDA, the Uganda Coffee Development Authority. The government agency was founded in 1992 to promote, supervise and regulate coffee and coffee quality. In each district, agents visit producers to train them and help them increase their yields.
So we help small farmers, first of all, with training them. We are also helping our farmers by giving them inputs. We give inputs, we supply coffee seedlings to farmers who want to put more fields. We give them fungicides to manage their diseases. We also give them fertilizer so that we encourage them to always improve their soil fertility.
The agency also provides equipment where necessary and carries out soil analysis. At the same time, the government scientific research organization, the NARO, is trying to develop new coffee varieties, again, to improve the quality and robustness of the beans.
As of now, our exports have really grown high. Like of last year, we were able to export about more than 6 million bags of 60 kilograms. Compared to what we used to export, that was even less than 1 million. So we are moving ahead with Uganda Coffee Development Authority.
The largest customers for Ugandan coffee are Italians, Indians, and Germans. The government now also wants to export value-added coffee, meaning coffee that has already been ground, rather than green beans to generate more profits.
Check the aroma.
Kisoro Volcanic Organic Coffee produces between 500 and 800 kilos of coffee annually. But this is still too little to export. The Halira family sells only on the local market to supermarkets, hotels, and tourists who visit them. However, the growers in the Kisoro region have formed a collective in the hope that they will soon be able to export.
We have an association that involves many farmers around. And we're encouraging more farmers to plant because we need much produce. Because if we are few, we won't make what it takes to export. So if we are very many, at least we can be able to raise maybe a container and we can be able to export. And there we shall all be benefiting the community.
But production is becoming increasingly variable. Harvests have been very low over the last 4 years, mainly due to climate change. To compensate for this, growers have had to introduce methods to protect their trees, giving priority to intercropping, which involves growing several crops in the same field. This method also helps to preserve food security.
So usually when we plant coffee trees, we need to provide the shade with the shading crops. 1 banana will give shade to 4 coffee trees. Banana leaves. First of all, bananas grow faster than coffee. Then bananas can hold water during the rainy season. Then it can give supply coffee trees with water during the dry season. Then many avocado trees, they work as windbreakers.
At the same time, the government claims to be reducing deforestation, encouraging the use of organic products, and training farmers in sustainable agriculture to ensure that coffee remains an important part of the Ugandan economy.
Humility and transparency, these are the first words of the new president of Senegal, Bassirou Diomaye Faye. The 44-year-old former tax inspector came comfortably at the top of the presidential vote after replacing opposition leader Ousmane Sonko. He is a favorite of the country's youth, but international investors are showing mixed feelings. While Senegal is on the verge of becoming a new major producer of gas and oil, the new president has announced that he wants to revise contracts with energy companies. He also questioned the relevance for Senegal of continuing to use the CFA franc, which is pegged to the euro. And meanwhile, South Africa, already affected by power cuts and logistical problems, is facing a breakdown in the water supply. Rand Water, the continent's largest supplier, has told 3 municipalities in Gauteng province, with a combined population of 13 million residents, that its system is on the verge of collapse. An aging infrastructure, leaking pipes, and overconsumption of water by municipalities, as well as their unpaid bills amounting to $158 million, are among factors causing the crisis. And in the rest of Africa, drinking water is still very far from guaranteed. Millions of people still struggle to access this precious resource, which all of us need. In Rwanda, one woman has put her entrepreneurial spirit to work in this quest. She has succeeded in changing the lives of more than 73,000 people who now have access to drinking water dispensers by subscription. This revolutionary solution has considerably reduced the purchase of mineral bottles and consequently plastic pollution. This is a report by Temistok Hakizimana.
In Rwanda, less than 50% of the population has access to drinking water, according to UNICEF. It is a health threat that can result in the appearance of various diseases and affect the health of the population. In the capital, Kigali, as well as in the surrounding region, it is undeniable that drinking water remains a serious problem. The water that the inhabitants draw from the rivers is indeed not always clean.
The river is the cause of the death of many people who come to collect this dirty water. This water also causes us many health problems. If we had cleaner water, we wouldn't come here.
Yvette Ishimwe, 25, is the founder of Iriba Water Group, a startup that provides clean water to rural and urban communities. She has installed water kiosks and sells filters to address the shortage of drinking water.
Clean water is a serious issue in Rwanda and also in the region. For example, I'll give you simple numbers. Like in sub-Saharan Africa alone, 319 million people are without affordable access to clean water. So, you can see yourself. If we still have up to 319 million people without clean water access, then that's a serious issue.
Created in 2018, Iriba Water Group has 3 components, including Iriba Tap and Drink for low-income communities. This company installs water dispensers and eco-kiosks in urban communities, especially in high-traffic areas such as markets, public parking lots, and others. Several kiosks have been set up across Kigali, like this one in Gisozi.
I work hard, and a small jerry can of water that I consume every day costs cheaper compared to mineral water. And then we find that our health has improved a lot since we started drinking this water. We therefore thank the owner of this business for allowing us to safely quench our thirst.
Dehydration and difficulties in finding drinking water in several schools are problems for which Iriba has also found a solution. Indeed, through its subsidiary Iriba Tap and Drink, the company has chosen to install water dispensers in schools. Each student, after paying a quarterly subscription of approximately $2, has unlimited access to drinking water provided by Iriba Water Group.
Before, I had health problems all the time because of the dirty water we drank here. Now, we fear nothing.
The various actions undertaken by Yvette Ishimwe and her startup Iriba Water Group have made it possible to significantly increase access to drinking water for the most disadvantaged.
Especially when I see actually the low-income people, because these are our target, those people coming one by one on the line, coming to get water. Yes, I feel very satisfied. It's a very rewarding experience. It's a very, it's something really, really good that encourages me to also wake up another morning and push forwards for more people to have access to clean water.
Thanks to her initiative, Yvette Ishimwe has already improved the daily lives of no less than 74,500 people, while already employing 590 workers. Her objective is to continue her efforts to fully satisfy the demand for safe drinking water on the Rwandan market. A complement to local government actions aimed at better water conservation through the setup of drinking water storage infrastructures.
Welcome back to the second part of our show. If you live in the west of the African continent, you have certainly noticed internet slowdowns and outages. These disruptions were linked to 4 faulty submarine cables But the good news is that operators managed to improve the situation for millions of Africans. Some routed the traffic through Brazil and others through land cables. To take stock of the ongoing repairs and the lessons to be learned from this incident, our journalist Ologe Aidasso met in Cotonou, Benin, Pierre Dandjinou, an expert. He's the Vice President for Africa of ICANN, which is also called the Government of the Internet. Take a look.
Do we know more about what happened and how long the repairs will last?
The submarine cables which carry the traffic of the sub-region have suffered damage in a zone along the coast of Côte d'Ivoire. Very quickly, arrangements were made so that customers did not suffer too much. And so since March 14th, especially March 15th, traffic started to come back gradually as the operators had the possibility of rerouting the traffic through other places where there were not these types of problems. Now it takes up to 5 weeks for everything to return back to normal. But yeah, there are countries where it will go faster. The most important thing is that the cable ships that take care of the maintenance arrive on time and do the work very quickly.
What economic impacts should we expect? Which sectors would be most impacted?
With the internet now in our lives, we think that all sectors will be impacted. Now, at what level and to what extent, we can't give you numbers yet because it takes time to evaluate it. But we know that the biggest sectors, whether it is the financial, banking, will be affected, as well as the governments in terms of information systems. The service we provide, I mean, anyone who communicates on the internet, everything that is e-commerce. And you know, the internet today is worth millions and millions of dollars. All of this will be impacted.
How could Africa avoid this type of breakdown in the future? Are there any alternatives or improvements to be made to the existing system?
It was a deep water landslide. We couldn't foresee any of it and make arrangements. But it still seemed that the simplest, most obvious arrangement to make was to double the cables. This means that you certainly need to have more cables to have backup system as soon as there is a problem. But that also raises questions about the strategy itself. What is the African strategy in relation to this data traffic? Because data is very important, and we must not forget, most of the cable companies, most of the people who manage the cables are in the cloud, meaning that today we have a lot of data, and with that massive data in the cloud, the open internet, and then in data banks. It means for us that Africa must also invest a lot to keep the data in the web house that is here in Africa, so that all of our data is not stored outside of the continent. So that means there is an entire strategy that needs to be built, and then we should also have strategies for increasing access.
Are you thinking about satellites?
Those who have launched satellites, who made it possible to have satellite access, have won markets because many had to turn to them, since at the satellite level there were no problem. I believe a country with a network of these different technologies should be above these problems. There are existing satellite links, Starlink, for example, not to give its name, but is now establishing itself in Africa gradually. I think it is already present in 7 countries out of the 54. That's very important. There is also what we call the digital sovereignty of countries. This raises questions because if you want to be digitally sovereign, that means you will have to master all parts of this new economy. Here is the context, and I believe that there is a lesson to be learned, and certainly actions will be taken between now and then by those in power and the private sector as well.
The ongoing war in Sudan between the armed forces and the paramilitary organization RSF is seriously compromising oil exports. This is another challenge for South Sudan, where oil is the main source of income. Sudan's Ministry of Energy and Petroleum has warned major producers operating in the region that damage to pipelines and the closure of some pumping stations due to fighting made transporting South Sudan oil to Port Sudan almost impossible. Will responsible sourcing of gold become a standard? The question arose last week in London, where the LBMA, the Association of Precious Metals Market Professionals, held a conference. This global professional organization supervises and regulates the gold and silver markets. It has just launched an initiative to support the integration of artisanal mining into the legitimate global gold supply chain through its 66 accredited refiners. The NGO Swiss Aid had recently singled it out for its supposed leniency in relation to African sources of supply of the precious metal. And to better understand the reasons behind these traceability requirements, let's now head to Guinea, the fifth largest producer of African gold. For this final report, the gold rush led an entire precarious population to try their hand at gold panning. But behind this gold fever, we also find children who sacrifice their education for picks and shovels. Some local NGOs are fighting to change the situation. This is a report by Sayon Koroma in the Sigiri region in the northeast of Guinea.
On the outskirts of this gold mine, a surreal scene. A little boy, barely 4 years old, is digging alongside the adults. But how can you be so strong?
You have to go home.
The old man, as he is nicknamed, has never been to school. He works alongside his mother all day long, hoping to find gold to improve their living conditions. Unfortunately, after a whole day's work, they haven't extracted more than a decigram of gold. If you sell this decigram, how much do you get? 1 decigram gives us 4 euros. After dark, with a torchlight, the old man and his mother sell their meager gold harvest to buy food. The sad reality is not unique. In the mining regions of Sigiri in the northeastern Guinea, many children are living the same reality. According to the UN, 68% of children in Guinea work from the age of 7. Many drop out of school to work in the mines, exposed to conditions threatening their health and safety. Their fragile hands handle heavy tools, and their dreams for the future fade into the dust of the mines. Yet, some children like Sira still aspire to education. I really want to go to school because this mine is very ephemeral. As we delved into the reality of the mines, we spoke to this artisanal mining manager. Here, despite the determination to combat the exploitation of children, the challenges remain complex. The complexity of the situation and the precariousness of the families hamper the implementation of effective measures.
A lot of children come to the mines. Banning children could cause problems. Those who run the small-scale mines don't want to see young children working like that, but we have no choice.
Child exploitation is a dilemma for some families. For this lady, unfortunately, education has still not led to a better life for her older children. Some of them have completed their schooling and are now unemployed, which has led her family to rely on the mines and the frail shoulders of their offspring to survive. We live off the mines. If we prevent our children from working in the mines and we can't find jobs after school, what's the point of studying? Despite the grim reality of the mines, a glimmer of hope emanates from a non-governmental organization determined to bring about significant change. We've noticed that in mining areas, parents neglect their children's education. They take the children with them to the mines to exploit them somehow. So during school periods, the children must go either to school or training centers to prepare for their future. That's why we're here today. That day, we followed the team as it traveled to neighboring villages to raise awareness amongst parents of the importance of education. Have pity on these children, start sending them to school or let them have a proper job. Gold is not eternal, because when you will be worn out from this job, they can take care of you. We're here to pass on this message to you. According to the NGO Humanium, which fights for children's rights, only half of Guinean children have access to secondary education, while 73% are engaged in work even before reaching the legal age of majority, and girls make up the overwhelming majority of these cases. These statistics underline the need for concerted action to change the trajectory of these young lives and offer them more promising prospects.
Well, that's it for today. Business Africa is over. I'll see you next week, same time, same channel for Initiative Africa. We'll host Malemo Moila, a Joburg-based artist and researcher who works on the issue of restitution of African heritage. I met her in Cape Town. In the meantime, you can watch this show on our website, africanair.com, and follow us on our social media channels. Feel free to share, like, and comment using the hashtag Business Africa. Have a great week, and until next time, goodbye.